Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I have a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
and today is episode 192 of Podcast 2 for 1. YouTube.com/2for1 Studios is the best place to consume all the content. And if you didn't know, listeners, and let's be honest, you probably didn't, we are sponsored by Kapow Comics, located at 4047 East School Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. There they have comic books, collectibles, graphic novels, and of course, special guest appearances throughout the year. Kapow. Listeners, Daniel asked me about 30 minutes ago, so what are we talking about? And I said, quote unquote, mix of shit is what I said. And the answer is I don't really know. All I do know is I want to hear what Daniel's watching and what he's playing. But I don't want to spend too much time on that, Daniel.
Okay. Give me mixed signals, but it's okay. I'll roll with it.
I said mix of shit. Mix signals. Go on.
Yeah, you're right. It's on brand. So what have I been watching? First of all, my wife and I just finished Sopranos. Her first time, my second time. This past week, Monday, I think, or Tuesday, we finished the show. And, everyone knows about Sopranos, but let me just go on a soapbox for a minute. This is the show that changed television. This is the show that made the home box office network the home box office network. This is the show that people were orientating their lives around on Sunday nights, and not this many people had ever done that around TV at this level. And it was like you watched The Sopranos on Sunday night and it was as good as a movie. The acting was as good, the shots were as good, the writing was as good. It was cinematic level. And I heard about this story about it on another podcast I was listening to. They were talking about The Sopranos, and obviously I wasn't watching it at the time, so I wasn't aware of this. But so David Chase is the creator of Sopranos, and he makes this show 5 seasons long. The whole plan all along was 5 seasons. And in this show about the Sopranos, in essentially what is a show about a mob boss who starts going through a midlife crisis, what he's doing with this show is he's very subtly at times and not so subtly at other times critiquing American culture in a lot of ways, right? Tony Soprano is a man that has everything that most of American culture idolizes. He's rich. He has as much money as he wants. He's got a giant house. He's got a wife and kids. He also sleeps with as many women as he wants. He also is the top dog on a pyramid of, macho men, and no one is allowed to disrespect him, and he can kill people on a whim because he's the boss. He's in so many ways, he embodies what the American culture and society idolizes in terms of this is what you want to go for in life. This is, if you've got this, you've made it. And Tony Soprano has all of that. And he is a miserable, in some ways gross human being that can't seem to understand that maybe his panic attacks are the result of his lifestyle. and what's amazing about this show is Tony Soprano never changes. He is the exact same POS he starts the show as at the end of the show. He goes to therapy. He learns these things about how he had a mom that was a sociopath and a dad that was a psychopath, and none of it changes his behavior at any point. Every time you think Tony Soprano has learned something, the next moment he will show you he absolutely has not learned it. And so this show is on for 5 seasons. Everyone loves it, right? It changes TV. And David Chase, he's made this show that is, in his mind, critiquing American culture. But and they ended after 5 seasons, right? This is the last one. But what he starts seeing is nobody's getting that. People are idolizing Tony Soprano. Everyone's wanting to be like him. They're making him this role model for their lives. And he's and so what he does is he comes back and makes a 6th season that's twice as long as any other season. It's 21 episodes in the 6th season. And he completely dismantles this lifestyle and just shows the asinine logic and the just horrible morals and like is just constantly contrasting what these people say and what they do. And it like by the end of season 6, Tony Soprano is clearly a loser. You know what I mean? And it's like it's so wonderful and like and it's funny because my wife when we're watching him and like I kind of forgot about this whole meta level of what was going on at the time. And you know, we were getting to the end of season 5 and like
I have one question.
Yeah,
I have one question.
Yeah.
So did season 5, quote unquote, did it have like an ending where you're like, oh, this could be the ending?
I mean, it ends on a big climactic moment and like big things happen plot wise, but it doesn't like feel like a nothing. I didn't feel like anything had a bow tied on it necessarily, but it was just like, I mean, it had a satisfying ending and it wrapped up the plots that were going on in the show up to that point, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But it also kind of left it in the state of like, well, it's the Soprano. It'll always be this way to a degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just this is the mob. They'll never change. You know, this is just the same old, same old. And so we're getting into season 5, and we're like, man, this is so good, but it's just gratuitous. You know what I mean? Like Tony Soprano runs a strip club, and the amount of times we're just watching butt-ass naked strippers on screen and just all this stuff. It just sometimes it's just like, oh, it's just a lot of things that they're commenting on, but also things that aren't necessarily always fun to watch. And so then you get season 6 and it's just like this systematic dismantling of the persona of Tony Soprano and of like the mob lifestyle and of the American culture that like by the end of it, I don't know how you could root for him. He's a piece of shit. And he treats everybody like shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, he kisses his wife with on one cheek and he go fucks the stripper, right, you know, in the next hour. You know, it's just like these things where you're just like, man, this guy sucks. You know, and I don't want to hang out with a guy like this, is how you feel by the end of it. And yet it's all still done in a way that like, I mean, he still wins at the end. Kind of like within the kind of resulting battle that's going on within the mob bosses. Like he comes out on top, but it's like you're left with this impression of just like he's a loser. You know what I mean?
Well, the only thing I know about, first of all, I've always wanted to watch The Sopranos. And if you're an UCA alum, when you're walking the hall, there's a Sopranos cardboard poster in one of the halls. There used to be anyway.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to watch this show for obvious reasons. And the only thing I do know and the only thing I've ever seen of this show is the last 2 minutes.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of controversy surrounding that, right? So 2 things. I want to ask this other question before I dive back into that for you. One, and also second, Matt Mitchell just watched all of this last year, like all of it.
Okay.
And so he's been like kind of nudging me to watch it too, and it's coming. So I mean, it's been coming for 15 years, but it's coming.
Yeah, right.
So but did you or have you and Kat watched the prequel movie?
No, and I don't know if we will. It got really panned badly. Most people were like, this was like, most people feel like it makes The Sopranos worse. Like it just didn't, the reviews were not good. Did you watch
don't understand that? No, because I haven't watched the show. I
might at some point, but I'm not eager to because
I can't understand that mindset. To me, I'm like, I have to know, like, maybe it's a beautiful thing that you can walk away and be like, I experienced this, but it's like the equivalent to me would be like someone watching Empire Strikes Back and saying, this is the best Star Wars has gotten. I don't want to see any more. But I'm like, but you have to know everything. Sure. Like, I mean, why can't you? Yeah. So anyway.
So, I mean, the show, it's a prequel and it's constantly referencing things that the show talks about. Like there's like, oh, back in the day, me and this guy, and you know what I mean? Like, you know, they're constantly talking about the glory days of the mob. And this show is in like the 80s and 70s, I think. So kind of like the glory days of the mob. But what I've heard is from people that are big Sopranos fans, that it feels like bad fan fiction. It feels like, wow, I wish you hadn't showed me what really happened because my idea of it was better. Kind of stuff, which we understand a little bit.
That's the ultimate prequel curse, is that right there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's a shame because
Daniel,
I mean,
real quick, Daniel,
what's his name's son is in it, and that's
yeah.
Like,
you
know,
it is. Yeah. I think John Barenthal's in it too, which I recommend anything he is in. But this popped in my head because every time we talk about the word prequel, this pops in my head. We have to at some point, because I don't think you agree with me here. we have to talk about X-Men First Class. We have to watch that.
Sure. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think you don't like it, right? Is my initial. I keep blocking it
I
out.
did
think.
not love it first time. I thought it was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think you're so wrong. So I think we need to. I think we need to redo this.
That's great. I
First
mean,
of
I
all.
think Days of Future Past to me is superior in almost every way.
You know,
But yeah.
you know what sure. You know what I am doing? I am talking to David Hayter, the writer of X-Men 1 and X-Men 2, this
That's
month
awesome.
actually in
That's
26
awesome.
days. So
That's
I'm excited to talk
fucking
about
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I might sneak
Yeah.
in a few X-Men questions, but I'm hoping he comes
Oh, yeah.
back later on our podcast
Oh, that'd be
to
fucking
talk
amazing.
about
Yes.
X-Men and writing and just the
Yes.
process and how you got there.
Yes.
Anyway, fun facts, everybody.
No, that's great. Yeah, just to
no,
wrap
cool.
up. Do you have any-
Sopranos.
wrap it up. It's an amazing show. It's a part of, to me, it's such an important, it's a historic show. Sopranos changed Hollywood forever. You know what I
Yep.
mean? We don't get Breaking Bad unless we had Tony Soprano first. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's the
and that's
beginning.
kind of true of all prestige television that's happened since then.
That's what
So-
made HBO it's what set HBO down the path it is now. So
Yes.
everything. I mean, really everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, the Wire started coming on like midway through The Sopranos, and then The
Mhm.
Wire, has got its own reputation. Yeah. Anyway, The Sopranos, you should watch it, even if you just want to like experience some of what made TV and television in Hollywood what it is today. It's amazing.
Is there any? Can you touch upon this a little bit with
Yeah.
like the stripper thing? But on like a softer note, is there anything like since because it is so old and it was the first one? Does it feel like kind of like Star Wars? You're like, oh, the special effects. I get how they were cool, but they're not as good as they are today. Is there any little bit of that where you're
I
like,
mean-
we get so much good, well written TV now?
The only thing is, I would say maybe cinematography wise, it's vanilla in that like it's every shot you would expect, but they're perfectly done. Right. So like I feel like with Breaking Bad, the cinematography sometimes is so fun because they just find these weird angles or they put this camera in a weird ass place. And it's just these really interesting ways to convey something that aren't just like your kind of typical OTSs, right? Rides, tight, all this kind of stuff. And I do think The Sopranos is kind of just it's classical Hollywood filmmaking. It's classical shots. There's nothing that's really going to surprise you about the cinematography maybe, but it's all done perfectly. And so it's not like it's something where I'm like, oh, I wish it had that. But if I think about current shows versus that is one thing where I'm like, I feel like current shows take a few more risks in that department maybe than they did back then. But yeah, anyway, Sopranos. The other show we just finished was Fargo season 5, which may be the best season they've done yet. It is phenomenal. We may have talked about it on this a little bit, but like the main lead actress, she played she was on Ted Lasso. What's her name?
I know who you're talking about. I don't
Yes.
know her
She's
name.
kind of short little hyper pixie girl. That's a really horrible Juno Temple, right? So she dated Roy Kent, and she's like this little posh British girl that's like super fashionable and stuff, and she completely transforms into like 100% believable Midwestern housewife, and then the show just goes off the rails, and it's amazing. I would say that like, and the thing is, you could pick up in any season because they're all pretty much standalone, but season 5, it's up there with season 1. And then lastly, I'll just wrap it up. Gaming wise, I have been back in the streets of Night City with V and Cyberpunk. It's funny. This is like I'm actually like pretty far into Phantom Liberty now, the DLC that released this year. I think I've probably got a few more. Like it's ramping up to kind of the final big bang there, which is cool. But man, like just playing it again for the third time, going through some of these quests, I'm just like, it's just CD Projekt Red. This game is at a different level than most other games I have played in the last few years. Like just in terms of writing, presentation, gameplay. I do think the gameplay is a lot better now than it was since they redid all the perks and the progression trees and all that kind of stuff. But man, it's just a badass game in a badass world that's really realized in a really fun way. And the writing is just, I think CDPR's writing is up there with Rockstar in terms of like, this feels like writing for movies, not writing for games. And so it's just a joy to be
Yeah.
back in that world. Honestly, I think I was like, do I really want to play this again? And then I started playing it and I got hooked again. And I'm already like, well, what time can I start playing today? You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I'm directly into Night City and I'm loving it. So
That's awesome. Yeah. I told you, I think privately that I started my second playthrough once version 2 was up and Phantom
yeah.
Liberty was out. And I got a good probably 5, 6 hours back into it, and I was enjoying it. I think it just that game should have it should, if it came out like that day one, then it would be
Oh
considered one
yeah.
of the goats of all time.
Well, I
The
mean, I
goats of all
think
time, the greatest of all time.
it is consider. I mean, I think it for most people they would consider it the best next gen game there is. Like, what's weird is it came out right in the transition, and it's still
No
got
one
some of
thinks
the
that.
best graphics that
I
you
don't
can
think anyone
find on
thinks
next
that.
gen.
I think largely when people think of that game, they think of its launch now. There's
I think it's
obviously
changed, man. I think that
there's the vocal minority who were there day one. We were there day one, who have
yeah.
experienced all the versions. Are like, and it's like this. It's like that guy who's like, man, you got to check it out. Like it's better now. That's that guy. And I
Well,
think that guy's loud. The rest of the community is kind of like they kind of broke our trust, and I don't see any stats suggesting that they're concurrent on Steam or anything is
well,
prolific for them.
I
I
don't
don't
know about
know.
that. I do know that just
Everyone's playing Power World right now.
anecdotally, yeah, that's true. Anecdotally, that when Cyberpunk came out, there was a Cyberpunk subreddit already made, and they had to make a second Cyberpunk subreddit called Low Sodium Cyberpunk for people that were enjoying the game because the main subreddit was just pure criticism and people beating the shit out of the game. To be fair, that was all warranted for the most part.
It was.
That's not that way anymore. That subreddit is full of positive posts now. That subreddit is full of people saying, wow, this game is amazing. And if you look at people saying, what are the best games I can play right now? The list usually includes Red Dead 2, Cyberpunk 2077. Like when people are saying like, what are the best games that are out and are on next gen and look good? These are the games people posit. And I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, like it will never truly live down what happened. And the next time they release a game, that will be the main narrative. Are they going to do it again? And so it's I think there is still that. The people that I see engaging with the game, talking about the game, playing the game, I don't see anything negative anymore at all.
No, I agree with you in the fact that whoever gets their hands on it, we had pretty positive things on it day one.
I had a good time. I mean,
And I think,
yeah.
and I put 50 hours into that thing, and which is unheard of for me, as we all our listeners know.
Yeah.
And so, I put a good time into that first couple weeks. So yeah, I mean, hey, I wish them nothing but success because I want more good games, and I want
Yeah.
more good games on day one
Yeah.
versus all this bullshit patch stuff.
Well, I do remember. I do think Cyberpunk because 27 the Phantom Liberty came out like right around Starfield, and I'm pretty sure like very early on, Cyberpunk was beating Starfield's Steam numbers. Now that doesn't
sure it
mean a
was.
lot because Starfield's Steam numbers were atrocious, but there
Man,
was
what a huge loss
know,
for them.
Yeah, their next game is a make or break in some ways. I think for their company of like make or breaking their reputation. Either they're going to learn from their mistakes and they're going to get their rear in gear and make a really good game that's innovative and like breaking boundaries like their old games used to, or they're going to be like people aren't going to be like talking about Bethesda anymore as a AAA state of the art company. Honestly, yeah.
Since we're talking about games, I'll start with games first on mine. So last time we talked, we talked about Indiana Jones because we reviewed the movie, everybody. And we talked about the game coming out by ZeniMax. I think it's ZeniMax. Maybe it's totally wrong.
Well, it's the company that made the
it's Wolfenstein
games.
Yeah.
Is it like something? Yeah,
I can't think of their
Machine
name.
Games. Machine Games.
That's it. Yeah, Machine Games. So anyway, I don't know why I said ZeniMax. Maybe they're under ZeniMax umbrella.
Yeah, ZeniMax. Yes, they are. Yeah.
Okay. So
which I don't even know if that exists anymore because Microsoft bought them. I don't know. Anyway,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Anyway, I was after watching Dial of Destiny and then what that trailer dropping, I was like, man, I gotta watch the first 5-10 minutes of Uncharted and the movie.
Okay.
And I watched like 5 minutes and I literally paused it and I said, fuck this movie. And I put in Uncharted 4.
Okay.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like they slapped a little bit of coat of paint on it for the PS5. It's really just like a frame rate thing and some better slightly fidelity
Sure.
or graphics. I mean, but it's like it runs 60 frames per second, and I'm telling you, dude, this game is like 5 years old now, maybe
Yeah.
six.
2018, maybe. Yeah.
It's one of the best looking games of all time, if not still the top
Mm,
two or three. I don't know. I
sure.
mean, like I was playing it, I was just like, Jesus Christ. I was like just looking at the jump. It's like it blew. I
Yeah.
had to pause it and get like Kimberly,
Yeah.
look, like I had to put my headphones off. Kimberly, look at this. She was like,
Yeah.
holy crap. And she's like,
Yeah.
she's used to like PS2 shit, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, look at this. This is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
And just playing it and like I had issues with four. It's only story issues with four.
Sure.
And it could have been it's still my favorite game series of all time, but it could have been like
Yeah.
God tier storytelling, whatever. I just
Right.
had two complaints in that story. And, but I remember playing it and still loving the game aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so I put it in and I played like 2 hours of it. And every night since then, it's been a week now. I'm like, what can I do to play Uncharted 4? Um, again, but I'm like, I always get to like 10 o'clock at night and I'm just super exhausted. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to play a
Yeah.
game. I just want to watch a show. So I haven't got to
Yeah.
play it since.
Yeah.
But man, if you want, even when I played it 6 years ago,
Mm,
um, I thought when I beat it, from the day it came out, I beat it. I thought this is out of all the Uncharted games, I feel the most like a um a treasure hunter the most
mm,
in this game,
sure.
and which is what I'm looking for because I mean Indiana Jones baby, and like it is, I'm telling you, it is so good, and the set pieces are. It's almost wild to me. Like again, it's like you're on rails, but it feels like you're
Yeah.
doing it. And I still don't know how they're able to make
Yeah.
that seam be invisible. I just don't. It
Yeah.
feels like it's impossible to me. But they're like the best at it. And so
Yeah.
anyway, I'm hoping to get back to that soon. But as far as watching things, um, one thing I'm on a Taylor Sheridan kick. So I
Yeah.
finally because the Dial of Destiny, Harrison Ford, I
Right.
went and back and watched 1923, and I started it over. And it takes place. It's a Yellowstone prequel,
Right.
and I'm not a Western. Even Yellowstone and 1883. Like my whole life, I've been like, oh, fuck Westerns. Like I don't like
Sure.
Westerns.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
then, like, I think it's just been I just never got, I guess, my kind of Westerns. I guess.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
his writing, I don't know what it is, but I love it. I love his writing so
Mm,
much, whether
mm,
it be Sicario or Hell or High Water or Wind River or Yellowstone, whatever it is. I'm in love with that guy's writing. So, essentially, I watched 1883 or 1923. It's Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren,
That's
and
it's like a one season series. It was a limited series,
well,
right?
it turns out that they're shooting season two this year. I thought it was a limited 9 episode season,
Right.
but it's going to
Yeah.
be 2 seasons total. That's all it
Okay.
is.
Harrison Ford will be in season 2 as well.
Yeah, and
Nice.
Helen Mirren, and dude, it's their acting. It's Harrison Ford. He fucking kills it, dude. Like it gets
Yeah.
so I was getting so emotional watching the show, and
Yeah.
also it's just like the B plot is such a romance, and it's like the classical Hollywood romance, like up to a 12, but it works because you don't get that anymore in movies or
Yeah.
anything.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
it's so like classical and
Yeah.
it works though. It's like I miss it. I miss the romanticism of it all. And
Sure.
then there's some great because everything about Taylor Sheridan is that he puts in like stuff about Native Americans and how they mistreated and like their
Mm,
history in
yeah.
conjunction with the U.S. government.
Right.
And there's like this great B plot in there of like just all the horrible shit we did to them.
Mm,
And it's
mm,
like it's
mm,
very educational. Anyway, watch
yeah.
that. It's really great if you like I don't know if you just I can't explain the Yellowstone universe, but because of that, I got Kimberly to watch. It's called Linus, or Operation. What is it called? I can't remember. Operation Linus or something like that. And it's basically another show on Paramount TV, but it has got Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman. I think Morgan Freeman's in it.
Wow.
And it's got all these A-listers, and it's like so far it's an 8 episode show that came out last year. I'm not sure there's a season two or
Mm,
not,
mm-hmm.
but it's about like being basically a spy, CIA in the
Yeah.
military. I mean, he
Yeah.
did Sicario, And it's
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
that and terrorism, and it's
Wow.
so good, dude. It's so
Is Taylor
fucking
Sheridan
good.
as well?
Yeah, he wrote it. Yeah, that
Okay,
man,
wow.
he like he nonstop. It's like he has so many
It does
shows at
seem
once.
that, yeah.
He writes like
Yeah.
every episode.
Yeah.
He's show running that Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown with Jeremy Renner, Tulsa King
Yeah.
Stallone, and he's got Yellowstone, and then he's got 1923 season 2, and then he's got
Yeah.
his movies he's making. So I
Wasn't
don't know
there
how
an
he does it.
18 something show too? It was even before
1883 is the first Yellowstone prequel,
that?
and
Okay.
it's got the country singers in it. So I
Okay.
can't think of their name. They're husband and wife, but they're like they just act in the show and they're fucking incredible in it. And it's
Wow.
got
Is it a one
Sam.
series or one season?
It's a one season thing, and it's a
Okay.
complete 8 episode basically
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
But it's anyway, Linus
Okay.
is super good too. But last thing I was
That's
gonna
awesome.
say is you have to check out, and you'll like this one. I'm not sure you like the other stuff. I think you might like it, but you got to check out True Detective season 4, which is
Oh,
called Night Country.
oh no. I forgot. We're 2 episodes in.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
is 3 just drop or 4
I
just
think
drop?
4 is about to drop. I don't know. Yeah.
I haven't watched this last Sunday. That's the only one I haven't watched.
Okay.
Or
Well,
last Mondays.
we've watched 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's so good. I love
It's
it.
great. I mean, I do think it feels like, and it's been so long since I've seen season 1, and I haven't seen either of. I haven't seen two or
One
three.
moment. I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I guess Siri was listening the whole conversation.
Oh wow.
Sorry.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't. I need to go. I need to watch season 3, especially because we had so many friends working on it, and it's Mahershala Ali and set in Arkansas and all that
It's
stuff.
the only one I haven't seen. Sorry, Corbin.
I know that's weird. But season 4, I mean, it's I guess to me so far the premise has felt more sci-fi-y maybe than I anticipated. Like I remember season 1.
Supernaturally, you mean? Or
Well, slight spoilers, listeners. Just like the genetic
Sure.
stuff they're doing, and like
oh, sure.
well, again, we're only 2 episodes in, so we only like just kind of figured out what they were even doing there, like the scientists at that station. But it's great though. I mean, Jodie Foster is fantastic, and she's
I love all the characters in it. I think they're all got great,
yeah. I mean,
great tragic characers.
they are. Yeah, I guess at the end of episode 2, like what's her name? Officer Navarro, maybe.
Mhm.
And Jodie Foster's character finally were like, okay, we're gonna team up, we're gonna do this. Kind of like it was kind of like, okay, this is the buddy cop duo this season, kind of. I felt like moment. But yeah, man. I mean, I think it's creepy. Like I feel like it's good at being creepy still, which season 1 was very creepy. It is full of questions. I mean, we're very much like, I don't know what's really going on kind of here, but like what it seems to be pointing to seems too out there, right? Like it seems to be pointing to like zombie-ish kind of scenario, or like super. I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of wild to me, like what it kind of seems like it's pointing to right now. And I'm assuming that the explanation is going to be a bit more grounded than that.
That's
But
what I assume and hope, I guess.
Yeah. Because I feel like even season 1 had like layers of that supernatural stuff, but by the end of it, it was a pretty plain explanation almost, right? Like it was there was a very like physical explanation for everything that happened. It wasn't just like, oh no, I guess some spirit did it, right at the end.
God, season 1, dude, one of the best seasons of anything ever.
I could see myself rewatching it after this one just to relive
Well,
it.
see, Kimberly, she like every episode we've watched, it's like she's there. She's not really watching it, but she's like listening to it.
Sure.
And she watched the first episode fully with me, but I don't think it's really up her speed
It's
for
a
whatever
slower
reason.
show. It's a slower show.
It is slower,
Yeah.
but like, and same thing that we watched the first episode when we
Yeah.
first started dating for True Detective season 1, and
Yeah.
she didn't really care for it then, and I was just like red flag, so. But I just, but she's not really liking this one either, and like I don't really know what it is. I think it's just a little odd for her, and kind of like this weird, darker kind of universe, and I think she's not.
creepy in a spiritual way, which I think can for
It is
some people be a turn
It is a
off.
little, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's dealing with
like the first
the
season, he
spiritual
is kind of
things,
like
it's-
he's an atheist, basically. Season
Well,
1, yeah,
and
so-
like I mean, it's like ritualistic killings that feel like cultish, and like
Yeah,
demonic,
yeah.
right?
Which I
And
mean,
even-
I love. I by side note, the serial killer shit. Oh yeah, That's what I'm here for. You know,
Yes.
it's so
And-
it's so good.
And even with this season, it's like very much like kind of hinting at like Native American traditions and like beliefs
Sure.
being behind this kind of stuff. I mean, like the little swirl thing's creepy as fuck. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
like,
it just ties in also though. You're right, it does. It ties in though too, like the Native American thing. I love this that
Yeah.
we're getting so much
Yeah.
Native American stuff lately. Echo, whether good or bad, Echo, all the
Reservoir
Yellowstone
Dogs, which I
stuff.
have not seen, but I've heard is great.
Yeah, that I
Yeah.
mean, all those things. Even now, this show, I'm like, I love that we're getting more representation for Native Americans
Yeah.
because I've always loved that culture. I mean, it's
Right.
partly a lot of our culture, especially in the South, because
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm 1/16, 130 something
I'm
Cherokee.
1/64th.
Yeah.
Something.
Got some.
My grandfather's grandmother was full, I think is how it is. Was full-blooded Indian.
My grandfather's grandma.
My grandfather's grandma. Yeah.
Okay, so my great grandma's mom was, I think, full-blooded Cherokee.
That
So I
might
think
be
it's
the
the
same
same.
thing.
I think it's the same.
That's the same thing.
I think it's the
'Cause your
same.
great grandmother is the same thing as my grandfather's mother. Whatever.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So we're the
So maybe
same.
it's-
Yeah.
So maybe it's
What if they're
130.
the same woman? Oh no. Okay.
I think it's 130. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Um,
I may
so
have done
anyway.
the math wrong. I did it a long time ago when I thought I might could get a scholarship out of it, but no.
Yeah. Yeah. People told me I should, but I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't know why I just didn't do it. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to do
Yeah.
that. So anyway, I love that we're getting that. But yes, Night Country, I think is, I love it. And I just haven't,
Yeah.
I'm kind of waiting for this next episode to drop for a while. So I
Yeah.
watched 2 back to back or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. And if you haven't watched season 1, it's great. Season 2 is a little more copy and it's not as fun serial killer stuff, but it's still fun. I did watch the first episode of season 3 and I need to watch the rest of that.
Yeah.
But I will say go ahead.
Okay,
ahead.
one
Yeah.
more thing I just keep forgetting. We also just recently finished. We blazed through the most recent season of Rick and Morty, which is the first season post Justin Roiland.
I think I'm 2 seasons or 3 seasons behind actually.
You might be. I mean, I would say the show is just as good or better. I honestly,
That's what I hear.
The first couple episodes, I could kind of tell the difference in Rick. They have 2 separate voice actors now. There's a Rick voice actor and a Morty voice actor instead of one guy. And I could kind of tell in the Rick voice just a little bit that it was different. There was no way to tell Morty was different. But by the end of it, I couldn't tell you what was different about it. You know what I mean? I was used to it. The writing is fantastic still. It's still Rick and Morty writing, which to me is like this wonderful mix up of just outlandishly over the top violence and sci-fi
So good.
mixed with like really poignant, like sobering, like kind of like heart level, like things that these characters are going through. Like the best times in Rick and Morty is when it's just like ridiculous all season, and they get to that one episode where everything gets real for a character for like a few minutes, and they like deal with something real, and they're doing that. Like the final episode of this season was probably up there in like the top 10 episodes of Rick and Morty all time. Like it was that good, and it was so good, and like I think I would say
I need a recap.
you
I need
should
a
keep
recap.
going, man. I mean, like it's all on HBO. The whole
Oh, I know.
every-
I saw it yesterday. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to watch this. But
It's
Yeah.
it's just I mean my wife and I just love it. It's just our cup of
It's-
tea, and
yeah,
it's
dude.
just
10
it's
out of
just
10.
in some ways I feel like it pioneered even what I know Invincible, the graphic novel, was out before Rick and Morty, I'm assuming actually, but like it does feel like Invincible took from that, like just that, like you never know what batshit but also fun and cool and crazy thing will happen next. You know, it's just it was really good, really good. I highly recommend it.
I'm going to. It's got a lot of narrative threads that connect. Like it's
Yes.
a one big story, and so I feel like I need to recap up until where I left off.
There are a couple big, I guess, like character moments or big moments that happen that I think will be dealt with continually for the later, like they're coming back to that kind of thing. But I do remember at least a season or 2 ago, there was some like if you remember that the episode with Evil Morty, that was kind of like really like famously good in episode, like in season 3, it was like that Stand By Me parody with Evil Morty in it. That thread line has continued to go and is really interesting to me. So like that's the part I think you would at least want to kind of
Right.
refresh yourself on. Yeah.
Last thing I'll say, and actually, I guess this episode will just be a what you've been watching, what you've been
Hey,
playing, which
there's
is
been lots
fine.
of fun stuff to be talking about.
Yeah. So last thing I'll say, I don't think we've talked about this, but it's on Hulu. And I
Okay.
think it's a limited series for, at least as of right now, for like 7, 8 episodes. And I guess real quick before I say that, have you watched other or Only Murders in the Building on Hulu?
I have not. My wife loves
Dude,
it.
it's so
She's a huge
good.
fan. I need to catch up. Yeah.
Yeah, well, as soon as we finished Lost, me and Kimberly went back. We started those. I was like, "Can we just try this?" Because we like murder. It's like our common ground is probably murder mystery stuff,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like Martin Short and or Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's so good, dude. And then Paul Rudd's in
Okay.
season 3. It's
Oh
so
wow.
good.
Is it Meryl
And
Streep in season 3 or something like that?
she's in season 3 also. Yeah, Meryl
Yeah.
Streep
Yeah.
is. I'm
Yeah.
done, dude. It's like season 1's the best,
Okay.
but it's so good. Anyway, so I can't wait
Need
for
to
season
catch up.
4. But also on Hulu is a show called Death and Other Details.
Hmm.
And I think it's like 4 episodes in, and it's basically Knives Out.
Of the
And
show.
it's on a boat, Knives Out on a boat. And it's like the guy is like the best detective in the world. But our main character, she's she's got tragedy in her backstory. But the show itself, you need to watch a trailer for it when you get a chance.
Okay.
I think we're only 4 episodes in. I think this season's only going to be like 6 or 7 episodes. It may be just a limited series. I don't know. But the show, when you watch the trailer, it's like this is better looking than most movies. It looks like one of the best looking shot shows I've ever seen in my life. Just because I can't tell a difference. I'm like, this is a movie. It looks
Hmm.
like a movie, like Knives Out or something. And I wouldn't say it's it's very like Perot from Orient
Okay.
Express
Yeah.
kind of thing. You know, they're all kind of the same. Blanc
So is it a
from Knives Out,
whodunit?
Perot. It's a whodunit. It's what it
Okay.
is.
So
And
you've seen the crime and there's a bunch of people it could be and you're kind of
yeah,
guessing.
it's not
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
Knives Out. It's what it is. It's like someone said, "Oh, Knives Out, let's do that on Hulu, but a TV show."
Sure.
And it's good. It's really good. I don't know if this kind of stuff always depends on the ending.
Sure. Yeah,
But
absolutely. Right. Yeah.
man, it's well made and the acting's
Yeah.
great, and it's called Death and Other Details. So I check it
Well,
out.
yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to figure. Catherine and I liked having a show we're watching. Like it's in some ways like it's frustrating to go into an evening and not automatically know what we'll be picking up because we're just
Yeah.
like we had like Sopranos for like 3 months and it was always nice. What are you gonna watch? Sopranos. All right, cool. Decisions decided. We know our time won't be wasted. It's a great show, and now we're doing the same thing with True Detective, right? So we've got that going for us, but like. It's a challenge for us. We want to have the next show ready before we end the first show. It's like, what are we watching next? We got to know. That'll be on the list to check out. For sure.
And check it out. You might like it. I don't know. You'll at least be impressed with the quality of it. So
sure.
I've been intrigued with it. I've been liking it. So
Cool.
it's not Knives
there's
Out.
lots of good
but
stuff to watch right now. I mean, I think
I've been surprised, honestly.
yeah. I mean, we know Invincible's coming back in like a month. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not
That's
bad.
not bad. Yeah. Exciting.
Daniel, how
times.
can our listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into bit.ly/241mail and let us know what you've been watching. Maybe you want to chime in about your opinion on The Sopranos or Yellowstone or one of its many spin-off prequels. Or maybe you've been watching True Detective as well and you want to let us know your theory about what's really going on. Let us know at bit.ly/241mail.
Just so you know, Daniel, they're doing season 2 of 1923. There's supposedly a show called 1944 coming out.
Yeah.
And then this is supposed to be the end of season 5, like part 2, season 5 for Yellowstone. We don't yet know if Kevin Costner will return. We think he won't to finish it out.
Yeah.
But then it's supposedly going to turn into a show called 2024.
Where
So it's
everything's
like
modern. Or
yeah,
current.
well, Yellowstone is current. It's modern, but like I guess they'll go to this like naming convention of like its years, but instead of called Yellowstone. But anyway,
wow.
so the big
Interesting.
rumor for a long time is that Matthew McConaughey is going to come in and kind of be the new lead for the whatever new show takes place the modern day. So
That would be an interesting role for him, playing like a country mob boss type, maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of like the idea, right?
It's the Godfather in the South, is what it is.
Right, yeah, or
Yeah.
in Yellowstone. It's not really the South, but is
Yeah.
it set in Yellowstone? I'm assuming.
Yeah, Montana.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
northern,
I said South, but I mean Southern ideals, I should say.
Midwest. It's rural. It's rural.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
Godfather in rural America. That's
Yeah.
probably the best way to
Sure.
say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, awesome. That's great.
Yep. My name is Donovan Thompson,
I am Daniel Wingfield.
and we have spoken.